Fellow female activists, we are here again in our wellness series, wellness playlist, and Cathy is here. And today we are talking about movement. Okay, choose what you're going to love. Okay, choose what brings you joy. So, in this playlist, we will always start with our positive quotient repetitions, i.e., PQ reps. Okay, so anyone who's new, hello, like and subscribe. And you're here so that you can get wellness tips that are very easy to implement as well as useful, and you can share with others. And today, again, it's a wellness playlist. We're talking about movement, okay? In particular, choose what you will actually enjoy participating in. And we always start with our positive quotient repetitions or PQ reps. So this one's going to start with our eyes open, okay? And only if you're safe, okay? Do you want to direct your attention to what I'm going to say? And preferably you're in a safe space, okay? So go ahead and with a nice tall spine, okay? You can be laying down even, but go ahead and elongate that spine. And I want you to focus on something in front of you, okay? And in so doing, really focus on what you're looking at. Look at the texture. Notice texture. Is it shimmery? Is it gleaming? Does it look bumpy? Notice the texture of what you're looking at. What color is it? Are there shadows? What about it is something you didn't notice before? Now go ahead and look at something else with a little unfocus. Okay, so change where you're looking and just look at something very lazily. Okay, not with much attention. And if you can, feel your feet on whatever surface they're on. It's okay if you have shoes on, but if you can, really put your feet onto the ground or whatever surface they're on and feel, if you can, all four corners of your feet. Really find those four corners. And if you can, and you're able, wiggle your wiggle your toes up, okay? Flex your toes. Even if they're in shoes, flex your toes. See if you can't lift them. And then bring them back down. And now go ahead if you can, close your eyes. And bring your hands together in prayer. It's a yoga term. And then go ahead and with all your fingertips, start to rub all your fingertips together. You can close your eyes if you wish. Rub those fingertips. What sensations do you feel? Can you actually feel your fingertip ridges, even your fingerprints? And now go ahead, if your eyes are closed, blink them open, and welcome back. So hopefully you have a little bit more focus right now. I know I do. So that was your first experience maybe of positive quotient repetitions, and I can share more with you in your organization. Just feel free to let me know in the comments or in a DM or, get a hold of me. So today we're talking about, again, movement. So if you're at all familiar, or if this is your first time, I talk about all things wellness. Okay, all topics related to wellness, which is quite a bit. And we have 5 pillars here in our wellness playlist. We have hydration, we have sleep, we have nourishment, we have movement, and mental fitness. Today we're talking about movement, and what we're talking about is choose what you enjoy. So, movement, there are very specific reasons why I use the language I do. It is to be inclusive, first off. It is to be very, very neutral in how I present information that otherwise is very, unfortunately, centered on white supremacy, white privilege, so forth and so on. We want to dispel the idea that there's only one way or one preferred, version of movement. There isn't. There are tons of ways to move your body. And today, very quickly, I want to share that whatever way that you prefer to move your body, that's what you should utilize so that you'll be in movement. It does no good at all to grudge through any type of movement that you otherwise are thinking, I wouldn't make anyone else do this. Why am I? And, same goes for the time of in which you choose to move your body. I will say though that just the idea that whenever you first move into your day, or I should say again, I'm trying to be inclusive here, meaning that not everyone, right, wakes up in the sun, meaning maybe you have a nocturnal time job, right? Or that's how you make your living is during the middle of the night, let's say. So in even the way I speak, when I say, your waking hours, it can be either or, right? It can be during the day or during the night. So during your waking hours, my preference is that as soon as you wake up, whenever that is, that you're putting your self-care first. Thus, what movement can you get in at that time? And I say that because regardless of whether you're someone who is awake most during the nocturnal part of the 24 hours or, which is more common, i.e., during the day, and then what you do as soon as you get up really does matter how your day goes or how your waking hours will play out. And so I prefer that you do put your self-care first. Okay. So again, it doesn't matter if it's uh, during, the night or the evening, or sorry, during the day. But I would prefer that you put yourself first and your self-care gets done as soon as you get up. Now, if that's not possible, okay, but the longer you hold off on getting your self-care movement in, the less likely that it's going to happen. Again, in a previous video, I said that our willpower, right? It's quite much like our batteries, i.e., we start off with, on purpose, enough cortisol to wake us up. And then by just the natural rhythm of our day, we use up the cortisol. And unfortunately, sometimes it grows when it shouldn't, right? But theoretically, it should be more like a really soft bell curve so that the cortisol is highest when we're waking. And then it starts to taper, taper, taper until which time, right? It's hopefully low when we're getting ready to once again fall asleep. The problem with, most of us is that we're constantly in this low grade stress mode. Okay. And that's not good. That means our cortisol is never really truly in that descent. And I bring that up because when we wake up, again, the cortisol is highest, which means, ooh, that's actually a boost for us to utilize, okay, whatever adrenaline might be in our body, a little stored up, and or the cortisol. We use the cortisol to move our bodies, however way we wish, right? That's what I'm getting at, is that by virtue of us waking up to begin with, we have more cortisol just naturally in our body, and we should be using that to our advantage. Cortisol is not bad. It's part of our hormone system. Thus, we need it. Okay. We require it to actually even wake up. Just in the same way that we have melatonin, okay, which is a hormone, which you shouldn't be shoving in anybody just for the hell of it. Okay. But needless to say, melatonin is the opposite of cortisol in that it helps us lull us to sleep. Now, that's not the only thing that will predict our sleep, but it helps, right? So what I'm getting at is that when we are dealing with movement, okay, because movement is part of being, hopefully, okay, depending on where what your abilities are, or rather how you choose to move your body is more what I meant, is important. And we want to honor how you can move. And we also want to make sure that you are being optimal about how you're moving during your waking hours. Okay. So again, I would prefer that you find some type of purposeful movement right when you wake up. And that can be as easy as 10 minutes of stretching. Quite honestly, I mean, let's be honest, right? It doesn't have to, and I'm not saying that should be all your movement, but what I'm saying is start your day with some type of movement so that if everything else goes south the rest of the day or your waking hours, at least you can say, I put myself first, right? With that said, you know, the point of this video was to make you understand that you shouldn't be choosing movement that doesn't make you happy. So, for example, I was one person who had the mindset that the only time I ran was when if ever I got chased. In other words, I did not like running. Well, that was a story I told myself, right? And funny enough, when I finally got my first invested in my first fitness coach, thank you, coach. And inevitably, we would have cardio in our weekly workouts, right? And so there was 3 days of like right on, strength training. And then there were 2 days always of some type of, only cardio, so to speak. And wouldn't you know it, because of my thinking, I really didn't like, let's say, using the treadmill, right? And then something curious happened. Over time, that was what actually I chose whenever there was a cardio day. I was like, okay, it looks like I'm gonna either get on the treadmill, so to speak. And once I got efficient at the treadmill, okay, at running, then I chose to start running outside. Like that was enormous. Like my coach was like beside themselves. I mean, it was hilarious. It was the butt of so many jokes thereafter. And in good spirit, right? So funny, right? That I would go from hating the idea of running or jogging, and then now I actually like it. Now, I haven't ran regularly for many years. It's probably been since like 2021, maybe even, but that's okay. I have decided that walking for me is actually preferable right now, especially in the times that we're living in. And actually, I know that once I I'm going to start using a weighted vest and ankle weight, like intermittently, depending on what I'm feeling for the day when it comes to walking. And I also know that at some point I may start wanting to run again. But what I'm getting at is that choose what you're going to like when it comes to movement. I still have my strength training. I still have, Pilates that I am part of an online studio called Saint, and I'll put that in the description. But basically, I have my choice of all types of movement, and so I never get bored. I can choose from, all types of forms of movement, and so that's important. And be curious when it comes to maybe you're new to like intentional movement and you're trying to find out what works for you. Guess what? There are so many different ways to move your body. Hell, I love to skip. Do you know how funny people look at me when I skip from, like, say, a vehicle to where I'm going? Let's say, I'm going to a store. Sometimes I choose to skip, especially where I live, because it's hot right now. I live in the northern hemisphere in the desert, so it's freaking hot right now. And the sooner I can get to, some type of AC environment, that's the best. So I will choose some time to skip. But guess what? I've actually skipped for an hour on the treadmill. I've actually skipped on purpose when I'm on out for walks, or even when I was training sometimes during my runs or jogging. So it's amazing what we forget as children, because that's playtime, right? We forget that the same movements that we chose as children and enjoyed, That's still movement as an adult. Just because we're, you know, level whatever, age whatever, we can still have fun just like we did as kids. I think too many times we believe that, oh, because we're a certain age, we're not supposed to enjoy the movement that we're, supposed to take part in. No, you're going to perform whatever movement brings you joy. Hello, that's not rocket science. And the more you partake in something you like and enjoy, the more often you're going to partake in it. So don't sell yourself short. If you are someone who loves to get, on a Peloton, go for it. But if you're someone who would otherwise think that's torture, guess what? Don't buy a Peloton. You know, think about maybe taking up a new hobby. Like, have you ever thought, oh, I wonder what it's like to, try learning to row, or, something as easy as maybe I'm going to go to one of those activity centers and try a zip line, but I'm going to play in I'm sure there's adult versions of those gyms, right? What I'm getting at is don't sell yourself short when it comes to finding out how you like to move your body. Maybe you want to try a dance class. Maybe you want to start hiking. I don't know. Whatever fits your fancy. And as an adult, you have the resources, hopefully, to try something out. Don't ever again be so compartmental or be so uh in restrictive with yourself to think, oh, there's only so many ways to I can only go to a gym to move my body. No. Hello. You have if you're no matter what kind of situation you find yourself in physically, walking is for the most part free. You can get out, hopefully, and walk somewhere. Okay. Even if it's just down your block or, down the street, wherever you may live. Movement, intentional movement takes a little bit of planning, but it also should be something that you enjoy. That way you will actually partake in it and it will actually affect your life in a positive way. Again, I didn't particularly like the cardio during my fitness week, but once I realized how wonderful I felt, then I started to appreciate it. And when you start to appreciate something, you enjoy it more. Okay. So don't sell yourself short. If I can go from, I only run when chased to actually running a full half marathon, then I know anyone can overcome any type of fear of learning a new type of movement and then finding something that you enjoy. And you'll be surprised how often you will then want to move your body. Okay. So, with that, again, choose to move your body in a way that makes you happy, that gives you joy, because you will absolutely then want to return time and time again to it, and preferably um, when you first wake up. Okay. So, with that, you all be safe, and we will see you soon. Until next time, take care, take charge. God bless.